All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. We're going to run through the specialists today, and we'll get started with Coach Herring, and we'll start with questions for him with Jeff.
Good to see you again, Chris.
Good to see you.
We haven't seen a lot of, live practice, but looking at the kickers, what's the battle, if you will, between Van Dyke and Larsh right now? What are you seeing from those guys, and what do you hope to see in camp again and leading into the season?
And I think that's a good way to phrase it. It is a battle right now, a true competition. Colin obviously has the game experience when it comes to field goals and PATs, but Jack's done a really good job in the off season and going through this first part of spring practice, competing for the job. So I see this competition continuing as we go into fall camp, and I'm excited about the fact that I think whoever emerges will truly have won the job. It won't be by default. So I think that competition is going to heat up, and we're anxious to watch both those guys, and they've done a good job of improving.
Colton?
Yeah, sticking with the kickers there for a second, is it when you evaluate who you want to have in that starting role, is it as simple as, player A made more kicks in practice, or are there other things that you're looking at?
Well, I think it's a combination of things always. Yes, making more kicks in practice, and we chart everything. We chart what they do when they're kicking with just the operation working. And then we also chart in those team reps. And then very important part of it too is when we go red zone scrimmaging offense versus defense, and we get into those field goal situations, trot those guys out there and see who can function with that kind of pressure on. So it's really a holistic approach. All of it counts. And in the end, I think we're going to have a true winner. It won't just be, Colin or Jack made one more kick than the other guy. I think it's going to be a combination of all those things combined.
Jake?
Chris, you need to replace Adam Bay, and obviously what he's done for 4 years. What are you seeing out of Peter that stand out to you in his development? It looks like he's gotten a lot of maybe the first team long snapper reps, but behind him too. Who's behind him? I thought I saw Marty Stray as well, like getting some snaps earlier as they were available.
You did, and Marty's been awesome. He's the emergency guy right now. We lost Duncan McKinley early in spring practice to an ACL, so he's not going to be available going into the fall. So Marty's kind of been the emergency guy right now. Pete's taken all of the snaps with the team reps. Marty, we're just kind of working them in. Probably going to have to bring in another long snapper this summer in the recruiting class. But right now, Pete's done a tremendous job. Adam's going to be big shoes to fill, but Pete can do it. And the nice thing that Pete has the advantage of being 2 years into the program and getting a lot of reps, even though he wasn't playing on Saturdays in the fall. So excited for Pete. He's worked really hard to kind of change his body, become very solid in protection, which in our punt system is just as important as the snapping. And Pete checks all those boxes right now. We got to keep him healthy and keep him progressing, but excited about what he's going to bring this fall.
Back to Colton.
Chris, when you look at your return game, when you start with the punt, get a couple of those senior receivers back to have some experience, but it seemed like Devin Chandler gave you guys some things from the kick returner spot. Is he a guy that can maybe do both, or where do you see from Chandler on the special teams unit?
Yeah, absolutely. He's been working at the punt return part of it, a little bit different than returning kickoffs. It happens at a little bit different pace, but he's working at it. I think he can do it. We're putting some time into getting him ready to be back there. Danny Davis obviously is back. He's returned punts for us in the past. Jack Dunn, and the return of Steph Brazy will be really important, I think, to both our return games. He's going to offer a lot of competition at both the punt returns position and the kickoff return position. So right now, knock on wood, we have some great depth there, which will create great competition. And the other guy I think in the punt return area is Dean Ingram. Dean did some for us last year and really progressing this spring. So you'll see him in there battling for that position as well.
Zach?
Chris, just the kickers, whether it's a situation where you could potentially use one guy for long kicks and one for short kicks, are you trying to find somebody that can do both?
Absolutely. And I think both guys have that capability. Last year probably didn't feel as good about the long kicking situation, but I think, again, the winner of that position, we anticipate both those guys to compete for, but in the end, you'd like to settle on the guy and he can handle all types of kicks.
Back to Jeff.
Kind of switching to punting a little bit. You brought in, you know, a new guy last year, and there were some times when the ball just was a rocket, and there were other times he didn't hit it as cleanly as you would like. What were some of the things he needed to work on technically in the offseason just to become more consistent, which is the case for every punter, every kicker?
And that's a great question. Andy probably wasn't as polished in some of the details of punting. Certainly ultra talented and has got a big leg. The control and the thing that a lot of people don't understand with punting, and as I learn more about it, it's the catching of the snap. If you can be really clean with your hands, and Andy's worked extremely hard in the offseason on the jugs machine, getting a ton of snaps just thrown to him, to have the confidence in your hands to minimize any of the movement of the ball when you get to your drop. And you're going to see a big difference from him this year in just the comfort level back there catching the football.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Good to see you.